The Old Testament is a tapestry of flawed individuals, their lives a testament to the enduring power of faith and the often devastating consequences of sin. Few stories illustrate this duality as vividly as that of Abimelech, a man consumed by ambition whose ruthless pursuit of power would ultimately lead to his downfall. Abimelech's tale unfolds in the book of Judges, a tumultuous period in Israelite history marked by cycles of sin, oppression, and deliverance. Born the son of a concubine, Abimelech harbored a deep-seated desire for recognition and power, a yearning that would fester into a dangerous obsession. Unlike his father Gideon, who had been chosen by God to deliver Israel from the Midianites, Abimelech sought to seize power through cunning and brutality. His rise to prominence marked by bloodshed and betrayal. His story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the corrosive effects of power on the human soul. The seeds of Abimelech's ambition were sown in the fertile ground of his own insecurity and resentment. As the son of a concubine, he felt like an outsider, his claim to leadership overshadowed by his legitimate half-brothers. Fueling his ambition was a deep-seated belief that he was destined for greatness, that he was the rightful heir to his father's legacy. Abimelech, with a cunning tongue and a heart full of deceit, sowed discord among the people of Shechem, his father's hometown. He played on their fears and prejudices, convincing them that they needed a strong leader, one who would not hesitate to use force to protect their interests. With the support of his mother's clan, he launched his bid for power, a campaign marked by brutality and bloodshed. Abimelech, consumed by his ambition, set his sights on the city of Shechem, a place of strategic importance and a symbol of his father's legacy. Shechem held a special significance for Abimelech. It was there that his father Gideon had been chosen by God to lead the Israelites to victory against the Midianites. But for Abimelech, Shechem represented more than just his father's legacy. It was a stepping stone to power, a city ripe for the taking. The people of Shechem, though fiercely independent, were also known for their fickleness and their susceptibility to manipulation. Abimelech, recognizing an opportunity, traveled to Shechem and presented himself as the rightful heir to his father's mantle. With cunning words and promises of prosperity, Abimelech began to sow seeds of discontent among the citizens of Shechem. He whispered doubts about the leadership of his brothers, questioning their ability to protect the city and ensure its continued prosperity. Slowly but surely he turned the people against his brothers, painting himself as their savior, the only one capable of guaranteeing their safety and prosperity. The Shechemites, swayed by Abimelech's persuasive rhetoric and enticed by his promises, agreed to support his bid for power. Emboldened by the support of the Shechemites, Abimelech wasted no time in consolidating his power. He gathered a band of ruthless men, mercenaries, and opportunists drawn to his cause by the promise of wealth and power. With his newly acquired army, Abimelech marched to Ophrah, his hometown, where his 70 half-brothers, Gideon's sons, resided, unaware of the danger that lurked on the horizon. In a shocking display of brutality, Abimelech and his men seized Gideon's sons, dragging them to the sacred stone of Baal-berith, a place of worship that would soon be desecrated by an act of unspeakable cruelty. There, on that hallowed ground, Abimelech, his heart hardened by ambition, ordered the execution of his own brothers. With the blood of his brothers staining his hands, Abimelech returned to Shechem, his path to power paved with violence and treachery. The citizens of Shechem, either ignorant of the full extent of his brutality or blinded by their own ambitions, welcomed him with open arms. In the shadow of the desecrated altar of Baal-berith, the very place where he had orchestrated the massacre of his brothers, Abimelech was crowned king. The cheers of the crowd, a chorus of misguided enthusiasm, echoed through the city, masking the stench of blood and the ominous silence of the 70 stones that marked the resting place of Gideon's sons. His coronation, a grotesque spectacle devoid of any divine legitimacy, marked the beginning of his reign, a reign destined to be as short-lived as it was turbulent. Abimelech, now the self-proclaimed king of Shechem, reveled in his newfound power. He surrounded himself with loyalists, men cut from the same cloth as his hired assassins, individuals who had more to gain from his patronage than any sense of justice or morality. His reign, however, was built on a foundation of fear and oppression. The people of Shechem, initially swayed by his promises, soon realized the true nature of the man they had helped to power. His rule was marked by paranoia, his every action driven by the fear of rebellion and the constant need to consolidate his illegitimate claim to the throne. He imposed heavy taxes on the people, enriching himself and his cronies, while the citizens of Shechem groaned under the weight of his tyranny. The prosperity he had promised turned out to be a cruel illusion, a mirage that evaporated under the scorching sun of his despotic rule. The citizens of Shechem, once eager supporters of Abimelech, began to murmur amongst themselves. Their whispers of discontent carried on the wind like the harbingers of an approaching storm. They had traded one form of oppression for another, exchanging the yoke of foreign rule for the shackles of Abimelech's tyranny. The memory of Gideon, their former leader, a man chosen by God, a symbol of justice and righteousness, stood in stark contrast to the brutal reality of Abimelech's reign. The whispers grew louder, fueled by the daily injustices they suffered under his rule. Even within his inner circle, cracks began to appear. The very men who had helped him seize power, driven by greed and ambition, now eyed him with suspicion, their loyalty as fickle as the shifting sands of the desert. As Abimelech's reign continued, its oppressive nature became increasingly evident. The citizens of Shechem, who had once celebrated his rise to power, were now burdened by heavy taxes and subjected to his tyrannical rule. Into this volatile atmosphere stepped Gaal, the son of Ebed, a man of charisma and ambition, who saw in the growing unrest an opportunity to advance his own standing. Gaal, whose very name meant loathing, became a focal point for the growing dissatisfaction with Abimelech's rule. He openly questioned Abimelech's legitimacy, reminding the people of Shechem that they had turned against the house of Gideon, their true deliverer, for a ruler who had shown them nothing but cruelty and greed. Gaal's words resonated with the people, stirring their anger and fanning the flames of rebellion. His arrival in Shechem marked a turning point in Abimelech's reign, signaling the beginning of the end for the ruthless king who had built his throne on a foundation of blood and deceit. Gaal, emboldened by the support of the Shechemites, grew increasingly bold in his defiance of Abimelech. He publicly mocked Abimelech's lineage, questioning his right to rule and casting doubt on his courage and strength. The city of Shechem became a battleground of words, with Gaal and his followers openly challenging Abimelech's authority, their voices echoing through the streets and marketplaces, inciting the people to rebellion. Abimelech, informed of Gaal's seditious words and actions, was enraged. He had tasted absolute power and he would not relinquish it easily. He vowed to crush Gaal and his followers, to make an example of them that would quell any further dissent and solidify his grip on Shechem. The conflict escalated rapidly, dividing the city along lines of loyalty and ambition. Word of the growing unrest in Shechem reached Abimelech, who was in Arumah at the time. Enraged by Gaal's audacity and the Shechemites' betrayal, he devised a plan to crush the rebellion and reassert his dominance. He gathered his forces, dividing them into 3 companies, and stealthily approached Shechem under the cover of darkness, hoping to catch the rebels off guard and deliver a swift and decisive blow. Meanwhile, Gaal, unaware of Abimelech's impending attack, continued to rally the people of Shechem against their absent king. Zebul, a prominent citizen of Shechem who had once been allied with Abimelech but had grown wary of his tyrannical rule, secretly informed Abimelech of Gaal's movements and the city's vulnerability. He urged Abimelech to act quickly and decisively, promising to support him in crushing the rebellion. With Zebul's intelligence, Abimelech was able to strategically position his forces around Shechem, effectively trapping Gaal and his followers within the city walls. The seeds of Abimelech's destruction had been sown by his own hand, his ruthless ambition and cruelty creating an environment ripe for rebellion. The story of Abimelech doesn't end well, as you might expect. His reign of terror, built on the foundation of fratricide and deceit, crumbles as swiftly as it rose. He meets his end not in a blaze of glory on a battlefield, but in the shadow of a city gate, felled by a woman who hurls a millstone from above, crushing his skull. Even in his final moments, Abimelech clings to a perverse sense of pride, ordering his armor-bearer to finish him off, lest it be said that he was slain by a woman. His story, a cautionary tale woven into the fabric of the Old Testament, serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of unchecked ambition. Abimelech's quest for power, fueled by insecurity and resentment, leads him down a path of violence and treachery. He betrays his family, manipulates the people of Shechem, and ultimately destroys himself in a paroxysm of violence. his reign a testament to the corrosive nature of power divorced from morality and justice. Though Abimelech's story unfolded thousands of years ago, its themes of ambition, betrayal, and the abuse of power resonate deeply in our own time. History, as they say, doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. From the Roman emperors who indulged in unimaginable cruelty to the dictators of the 20th century who orchestrated genocide on an industrial scale, the human capacity for evil knows no bounds. The allure of power, the intoxicating feeling of control over others, has seduced countless individuals throughout history, leading them to commit unspeakable acts in pursuit of their ambitions. Abimelech's story serves as a timeless reminder that power, unchecked by morality and compassion, is a dangerous and corrosive force. The echoes of Abimelech's tyranny can be heard in the corridors of power even today, in the actions of corrupt officials who exploit their positions for personal gain, the dictators who silence dissent with violence, and the demagogues who sow division and hatred to further their own agendas. Section 3. Seeking a higher authority. So, what can we learn from the cautionary tale of Abimelech? What wisdom can we glean from the ashes of his failed reign? The story of Abimelech highlights the importance of seeking guidance and authority from a source greater than ourselves. Abimelech, in his thirst for power, rejects the divine authority that had guided his father Gideon. He places himself above the law, seeking validation not from God, but from the fickle whims of the people he manipulates. His downfall is a direct result of his decision to turn away from the path of righteousness and embrace a path of violence and deceit. In a world often driven by self-interest and the pursuit of power, Abimelech's story reminds us of the importance of seeking a moral compass beyond our own desires. Whether we find guidance in our faith, our communities, or our own conscience, it is essential to anchor our actions in a set of principles that transcend our own selfish desires. The story of Abimelech is a reminder that true leadership is not about wielding power over others, but about serving a higher purpose. It is about using our abilities not for personal gain, but for the betterment of our communities and the world around us. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, join our growing family and subscribe to our channel. May God bless you. Thank you for watching.